Bradford City continue their 2024-25 league campaign with a clash against Colchester United, and we're looking to get back to 2 winning ways. In today's video though, you're going to find out how both teams have got on so far this season, what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. Now my team at Bradford City have dropped down to 10th in the table after our recent poor run of form. After 15 matches, we've got 6 wins, 4 draws and 5 defeats, scoring 20 goals and conceding 16, which leaves us on a positive 4 goal difference and 22 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a loss, a draw, a win and a win, so just 1 point picked up out of our last possible 9 available is simply not good enough. Them last couple of matches then been a 1-0 defeat away at Fleetwood. We gave away a really early sloppy penalty and we just could not break Fleetwood down. First half we were really poor, second half we were much better but just not clinical enough with our chances, and that was a really disappointing result for us. We also had a 3-1 win at home to Aldershot. I was unable to watch this match so I can't really comment all too much, but it sounds like first half we were a little bit all over the place. Second half though we kind of got going a bit, scored a couple of goals, and the stats certainly show that we did deserve to win in the end. Just before that though, we had a 2-1 defeat at home to Doncaster Rovers. It was a very even game in all honesty, but they had a 20-25 minute spell where they were completely dominant in the game. That's where they got their 2 goals, and like I say, it was pretty even, but they had that period where they were clinical, they scored their goals, and it was a really frustrating day at the office for our unbeaten run to then come to an end. We also had a 1-1 draw away at Cheltenham. We scored early, then we conceded a really sloppy goal from a set play, and then in the second half we just could not get the ball over the line, get it into the back of the net. A very similar story to our game against Fleetwood in all honesty. We really are struggling away from home so far this season. That was disappointing to drop another 2 points. And then just before that one, we had a 2-1 win at home to Gillingham. They scored quite early in the game, but we got 2 goals from 2 defenders just before half-time to turn things around, and Gillingham didn't really have much of a threat in the second half. An absolute worldie from Jack Shepherd to win us that game. Compared though to Colchester United, they currently sit down in 21st in the League 2 table. After 14 matches, they've got just the 2 wins, 7 draws and 5 defeats, scoring 17 and conceding 21, which leaves them on a -4 goal difference and 13 points. Their last couple of matches then being a draw, a loss, a draw, a loss and a draw. Them last couple of matches then being a 3-0 win at home to Arsenal's under-21s on Tuesday night. If you look at the stats, they were completely dominant in the game. Arsenal tried to dominate the ball, but a pretty rotated Colchester side had just about enough really to get through this game in the end. They still had some star quality in there, the likes of Jack Payne, Arthur Reed for example, but that was a pretty comfortable win. They also had a 1-1 draw away at Barrow, 92nd minute equaliser there from Lyle Taylor. In terms of the stats, Colchester had a lot of the ball but weren't really creating too many chances with it, but in the end it fell to Lyle Taylor, who is a proven goal scorer at this level and divisions above as well. He's obviously made the step down now after a few years of not really providing the quality. This season though for Colchester, he has certainly popped up with a few goals. They also had a 2-1 defeat away at Swindon Town in the FA Cup first round. They actually took the lead in the game but conceded not long before the end of it, and then Kabongo Chimanga on loan from Peterborough scored the winner in added time. Statistically, Swindon probably did deserve to win it in all honesty. Colchester had just the 1 shot on target in the entire match. Swindon had 6, they had 16 shots as well, although the possession was fairly even. I'm sure they were pretty disappointing to go out of the FA Cup. Just before that one then, they had a 2-1 defeat at home to Salford City. A very even game in terms of the stats, but Salford were clearly a little bit more clinical in that one. Colchester scoring either side of the Salford goals. A pretty lively second half in all honesty, but I'm sure they were really disappointed to pick up yet another home defeat. And then just before that one, they had a 1-1 draw away at Chesterfield. Jack Payne again with Colchester's only shot on target in the entire match. Chesterfield dominated, 23 shots, 8 on target, 77% of the ball, but just could not find a way to get that second goal. And that's kind of been the story of Chesterfield's season so far. So Colchester, they're not particularly playing well in the league. They're scraping the odd result here or there, so I'm hoping the Bantams can capitalise on that in this one. Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 50 likes on today's video? That'd be massively appreciated. And don't forget to get your score predictions in down in the comment section down below, and also let me know down below what would your start 11 be for this one. Now me personally, I would revert back to the 3-1-4-2 system. We played it in the second half against Fleetwood, but obviously we tried to tweak it and go with 2 central midfielders and an attacking midfielder rather than 1 holding midfielder and 2 central midfielders. So I would definitely go back to the usual format formation. We seem to play a lot better in that one, and I would definitely make a couple of changes. Obviously, we're still without a number of our main players, but we've kind of got to deal with the situation that we have at this moment in time. In goal, I've gone with Sam Walker. I don't think he was particularly poor against Fleetwood. We didn't really have much to do, in all honesty, but the frustrating thing for me with Sam Walker is the penalties. Every time we concede a penalty, we 99.9% of the time know that it's going to end up in the back of the net. Walker constantly dives the wrong way. He dives way too early, and it is really frustrating and disappointing. That is certainly his biggest weakness. He doesn't have many, but that is certainly his biggest weakness that I've seen in obviously nearly a year now at Bradford City. I'm pretty sure he made his debut in this fixture last season in a 1-1 draw. I think the goal they scored, Sam Walker should have actually saved, in all honesty, so I'm hoping that we can pick up another 3 points. In terms of the back three then, at right centre back, I would bring in Czech Diabate. I thought Brad Halliday was really poor against Fleetwood. His passing wasn't great defensively at times, getting caught out of position a little bit. And Diabate, while he has had a few bad games in a Bradford City shirt recently, I feel like if Halliday's playing poor, then Diabate should come back in and get a chance. I'm pretty sure Diabate didn't start in the FA Cup match as well, so we'll bring him back in at right centre back. In the middle, I've gone with Neil Byrne. I don't really see a reason to change this position. To be honest with you, Neil Byrne wasn't bad against Fleetwood, obviously wasn't amazing. A few of his diagonal passes were either being overhit or underhit. He wasn't quite getting that sweet spot, which we know he can do in a Bradford City shirt, but I don't think he was bad enough to deserve dropping, in all honesty. And at left centre back, I would go with Jack Shepherd. He absolutely needs to come back in. He was a massive miss for us last week against Fleetwood, and I know they didn't create many chances, but if Shepherd's available, then you can put Richards in wing back. You're not having to shoehorn Poynton and Clark-Adore out there, and like I say, suspension was such a frustrating one because so many of his yellow cards were for dissent or cheap yellow cards where you just don't really need to commit to a challenge. So hopefully he's kind of learned his lesson a little bit and we don't see him missing any more matches because he's been a big player for us so far this season. As my holding midfielder, I've gone with the captain, Richie Smallwood. I was actually debating, do you start Corey Evans in this one, but obviously recently returning from a hamstring problem, you don't want to shove him straight back in there. And as you all know, I have been a big fan of Richie Smallwood, but recently in the last 4 to 6 weeks, I don't think there's been many games where he's massively stood out, where he was certainly doing that at the start of the season. So hopefully that form can come around again, because we all know when Smallwood plays well, the team normally do play well. As my midfield four then, at right wing back, I've gone with Jay Bennett. Now, despite having a pretty poor game against Fleetwood, that's pretty much been his only bad game in a Bradford City shirt, and who really did play well against the Cods. So Jay Ben for me will continue with his place at right wing back. I don't think you would displace him for Brad Halliday. We know that his crossing usually is pretty good. It was poor against Fleetwood, but normally it is right on the money, and his legs and energy and his output on that right side is very important for us. And I feel like Colchester's pitch, it's not the widest, but it does seem to be quite long. So hopefully Jay Ben can use that energy and come up with a few moments of magic. As my two central midfielders then, firstly I've gone with Clark-Adore. I would bring him in to start in this one. Obviously came on at half time against Fleetwood, having not been included in a matchday squad for a couple of weeks with a slight knock. So now that he's back fit and available, he's trained all of this week, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't start him, because I do think he had quite a positive impact against Fleetwood, and certain players who normally play in that position haven't really done so. Because partnering him, I would go with Bobby Poynton. Now, some people might argue you can't have Adore and Poynton, there's not enough physicality in there, but I think with Smallwood sat just behind them, you got Richards and Jay Ben as the wing backs. I mean, I've just said Lewis Richards there. We've not even got onto him yet, but they've got the physicality to be able to match. And I think in terms of Bobby Poynton, he had a really good second half against Fleetwood. Once he was put back in his natural position and not shoehorned out in left wing back, I don't really understand why Graham Alexander decided to do that. But Jamie Walker for me wouldn't start in this one. I think he's been really poor for well over a month now, so he should have some time back on the bench. And with Sarcevic and Patterson coming back in the next coming weeks, a month maximum, to be able to be playing for Bradford City, then I think Walker really does need to step up his game if he still wants to be here come the end of January. You know, let's be honest, January is fast approaching and we need to do business in there. Walker's one of the higher earners. Who knows what could happen come then. But like I mentioned, Lewis Richards would start at left wing back. Tyreek Wright's going to be out for a few months, so Richards definitely has to start there. Again, I thought he had a really good game against Fleetwood, probably my man of the match playing as a left centre half. Yes, it's a position that he's played, but it's not his natural position, and I feel like we lost a little bit going forward in terms of his physicality. So for me personally, I would start kept him in that position. As my two strikers then, firstly I've gone with Andy Cook. It was probably his worst game of the season so far against Fleetwood. Not only his in-play stuff wasn't quite there, no real chances to feeding off the scraps, but he did give the penalty away as well, and it was quite a clumsy striker's challenge to give that foul away, which was really disappointing. But I would still start him in this one because I'm pretty sure he is still the league's top goal scorer, and partnering him I would go with Ollie Sanderson. It's time to stop giving Callum Kavanagh chance after chance. He's proven time after time he's not good enough. Just because he scored a pretty decent goal against the National League side doesn't mean that he gets another 20 chances in the league. Ollie Sanderson scores goals. He was a much bigger threat when he came on off the bench against Fleetwood, and if the rumours of that fallout with some of the coaching staff after the Harrogate game or at half-time, whenever it was, are true, then he's kind of served his punishment. You froze him out the squad for a little bit. We haven't really got on the most amazing of runs recently. Get him back in the team and get him back scoring goals. On the bench, I'd go Colin Doyle, Brad Halliday, Paul Huntington, Corey Evans, Jamie Walker, Callum Kavanagh and Tyler Smith. So a pretty strong bench in certain departments. The players currently unavailable are Callum Johnson. Aidan Baldwin is one of 3 players who should be back in training in the next 10 days or so, which is good news. Kieran Kelly, Tyreek Wright, Alex Patterson is another one, Anthony Sarcevic is the final one, and obviously Joe Adams, who is going to be missing for the full season. Also missing out through selection would be Zach Hady, Gabriel Wadsworth, Harry Ibbotson, who's now back from his loan with Kidderminster, where I think he scored 1 or 2 goals, and also Verdane Oliver, who was useless against Fleetwood. And I assume he'll be on the bench, but not for me personally. This is my team, and that is what I would go with. Thank you all so much though for watching today's video. Make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 50 likes on today's video would be massively appreciated. Get your score predictions and your starting 11 in down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you very soon for another one.